we have right here to my left a man who has the most, let me get this right, career passing yards, career pass completions, career completion percentage. No other individual has had more 300-yard passing game, 400-yard passing games, touchdown passes in a game, consecutive games with a touchdown pass, 5,000-yard passing seasons. I mean, I could go on and on, but I'd like to talk to the man. Put your hands together for Drew Brees. How's life?
It's going good. It's going good.
You know, I mean, I guess we could just get straight into it here. Do you feel, Drew Brees, that your team deserved to be here this week?
Well, listen, we'll go ahead and talk about the call. I've tried to live my life worrying about the things I can control, right?
Yes.
And then trying not to worry about the things I don't control. And unfortunately, within the game of football, listen, it's an imperfect game played by imperfect people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there's throughout the course of a game, and there's mistakes made all over the place, right?
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that a game that meaningful, that significant, at that point in the game, could have had a different outcome had it been for one call, right? One official's call. But again, that's not something that we control. I think about the things that happened before that and after that maybe were within our control, that might have allowed us to have a different outcome and be playing here in the Super Bowl. But as I've had time to, get some closure and then reflect on, I think, our season, man, there was so much to be proud of. And I had so much fun playing football this year with my team. I'm really excited about the future that we have with a lot of our young players. And it certainly rejuvenated me and really made football a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, no team has ever had 9 undrafted players catch a touchdown pass in the same season. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, somebody told me that I guess it was after the game, because we had 2 more undrafted free agents catch touchdowns in that NFC Championship game.
Right. I mean, so what was that like for you sometimes? Because it was like needing name tags for me sitting at home. Obviously, these guys, you play with them, you're practicing with them. What challenge did that present for you, Drew?
There was a lot of young guys, a lot of guys that had to step into roles that maybe were not anticipated, prior to the season. But there are some of those household names like Michael Thomas and Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. And then as the season kind of went on, and we lost Ted Ginn early for a while, and so all of a sudden, you had these young receivers that had to step up and fill pretty significant roles for us. And listen, that's a challenge. Just because so much of the passing game is timing and it's trust, and it's just that time on task that you only have so much of that during the off season. And man, the more years that go by, like for example now going into year 3 with Michael Thomas, man, I've got such a great relationship and rapport with him, and trust and confidence level when we're on the field. And so just common sense would tell you, man, it was a work in progress at times just to be able to develop that, as we were on the move.
Yeah, Drew Brees here on the Rich Eisen Show. So you said you've had some time to take in between the NFC Championship game and now. Did you do the time spent like your coach said that he did? Netflix?
Ice cream and Netflix.
Ice cream and Netflix, by the way, is what, anything similar for that for you? Obviously, you've got younger kids. He's got some kids out of the house.
I poured it into my kids, obviously it was a shock for us all. We didn't anticipate that, and there's just that. During the season you have a tough loss, and it's all right. You got to put it to bed within 24 hours. Then it's on to the next opponent, and you begin looking forward to that and working towards that. There's just that finality, right?
Yeah, right.
Of the end of the season, and especially the way in which we lost and the expectation level. So, listen, that was difficult. You kind of run the game over and over in your mind. But typically, what I do is I go to all those plays that I know could have been difference makers, and I create a different outcome. This is when I encounter that situation in the future. This is the way we'll handle it. This is so you almost make the plays, right? You change the outcome, and then you're able to put it behind you and move on. I don't want it to linger. I mean, listen, it hurts, it stings, probably a piece of it always will, and yet you just have to believe that there's better things ahead, and that we'll learn from this, and we'll become stronger because of it.
Yeah, I know. It's, as you said, the finality to it, but it's kind of remarkable that, when it happened, I came on my show the next day. I said it was the worst non-call I've ever seen in any sport, in any situation. And the only thing came close was, the 98 World Series when Mark Langston threw a ball right down the middle of the plate to Tino Martinez, and it was called a ball, and Martinez hit a grand slam home run on the next pitch. Like, that's the only thing I could equate to it. And I was wondering when everybody in the media fandom would turn the page to the Super Bowl. And it's the Friday before the game, and we really haven't done it yet. It still is there for that. Is it any sort of aspect that's been missing that you think needs to happen for closure, or
No.
some sort of cauterization for you, Saints fans, or what have you?
Well, I think what continued to create the swell was the fact that nothing was coming out of the league office, nothing was coming from the commissioner to address the situation immediately after, which I think we all felt like that was a very obvious solution, or at least some sort of response that just recognizes what happened and acknowledges it and says, you know what, man, we need to work to make sure that, something like this doesn't happen again. Obviously, we all recognize, just like I said earlier, it's an imperfect game, right?
Right.
And things happen fast. And so you're not going to make every call. You're going to miss some calls. And yet, for something that obvious to happen, and it wasn't just one penalty, it was two penalties on one play that were both,
Could be three, technically.
both missed. But I think had it been acknowledged immediately after, I think that would have allowed everybody to begin, being able to move past it, or at least say, okay, it's been acknowledged. We've talked about it. They've talked about potential solutions. Now we can move on to the Super Bowl, and then we can move on to what those solutions potentially might be this offseason with competition committee and everything else. And who knows how that'll shake out. But the fact is, it just lingered. It was allowed to linger and linger because there was no response coming from New York.
So the response from New York, just an acknowledgement of the elephant in the room without, I guess, throwing all the officials under the bus, right? I mean, I guess that might have been some sense. I'm just trying to walk through what the sensitivity might have been. And would a statement just saying, hey, that's a call we wanted to have made, which is what the commissioner said in the press conference this week, just putting that in a press release on Monday or Tuesday, or just saying that would have been sufficient, you think?
Listen, I think that's common sense. I think that's part of your job. That's your responsibility, right? I mean, just like it is a head coach or a quarterback or somebody else to be able to stand up after a really tough loss, just like this one, and talk about it, right? And acknowledge certain shortcomings that maybe you were personally involved in the game, right? Or whatever it might be. You got to stand up, and you got to be able to do that and take those bullets at times. And I just think it's unfortunate that Roger Goodell, and I think just the NFL in general, did not address that issue right afterward. I think that's part of their responsibility.
Drew Brees here on the Rich Eisen Show, care of also BioFreeze, which we'll get to in a second. So what about the potential folding of judgment calls into instant replay? The Players Association, which obviously you're an integral part, came out and said, hey, kind of don't forget about us when you're talking in the competition committee about making potentially such a major move on that front. Would you be cool with folding judgment calls into that, which might include offensive pass interference, might include a holding penalty on one of your hardworking protectors up front? Would you be cool with that?
I think it'd be really hard to do. I think you open it up a can of worms when you start talking about reviewing penalties. If you did do that, I think you'd have to relegate it to just a certain number of penalties, because you could arguably call holding on every play, right, in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that goes for DBs, wide receivers, the line, both offense and defense, right? I mean, all over the place. You teach great technique. You try to, play that way, and yet, there are subtle things that they happen on every play, right? So you've seen things evolve with instant replay over the last 10 years, right? From the perspective of, hey, we're going to review turnovers, right? To, okay, now we're going to review every touchdown play. Okay, to now, okay, each coach gets, 2 challenge flags, right? Oh, but you're not going to challenge within 2 minutes. That's going to be reviewed in the booth, right? That's going to New York, and we're going to make sure that, we're trying to create a mistake-free environment when it comes to that. But, man, when you start talking about all penalties, I mean, I don't know if that's realistic. Maybe there's a solution with a few of them, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to come up with something where what happened to your team and your city just doesn't happen.
I think that's what everybody. I think that's what everybody wants. Right?
If we're sitting at home, I mean, it was so damn obvious. Again, I don't. It's just we got to come up with something that creates an ability to catch that one in particular, because you never know what happens after that. Obviously, But so that's all. I'm just hoping that something could come up with to catch that.
Listen,
in the sieve of replay.
Yeah. Listen, I'm with you. I think I think that another discussion is, officiating crews. They have their crew throughout the season, and then for the playoffs, they become all-star crews. Right. And so you have crews that are made up of, members from a lot of different crews that maybe haven't really worked together in the past. And so what is that rapport? What is that level of communication? It's just like a team, right? You sit there and it's that repetition, and so you just work well together as a crew because you've been doing it for the last 17 weeks. And in most cases, these guys have been on each other's crews for years, right? But now you take an all-star crew and it's kind of like the Pro Bowl where you're playing with guys that you've never played with, and there's chemistry
means something in every team.
That's exactly right, yes. So maybe that's a fix that comes from this, just from the standpoint that, man, these crews, if you keep them together, they're going to work better together.
Drew Brees, a few more minutes left with him here on the Rich Eisen Show. So the other question you get every year is how you feeling and what you want to do, even though we're now seeing Brady at age 40 and age 41 make back-to-back Super Bowls. You obviously coming so close in back-to-back years to matriculate closer to the game. How are you feeling right now and your thoughts on how much longer you want to play?
I feel good. My body feels good. My mind feels good. I mean, I think any time after a hard-fought season, you're ready for a little break, and you take that time with your family to recharge the battery and then begin to develop a plan for the things that you want to accomplish this offseason to get yourself ready for a championship season. So I'm going to take that same approach. A few tweaks in my mind that I know I already want to make that I think are going to improve things.
What do you got? Can you?
That's trade secrets.
Okay.
Now. Trade secrets.
Okay.
But no, I'll be excited once that process starts. But right now, man, it's all about my family.
Is 45 still a number? You throwing it out?
I think it's possible. I mean, it's certainly possible. I believe that. I know Brady said that. I've said that. But we'll see. I'm just going to take it 1 year at a time. Really, just trying to enjoy the moment.
And it's also cool. I mean, that little boy that had the headsets on is 10 right now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and your other kids are how old? How old are they?
So 10, 8, 6, and 4.
Okay, so they're getting older, so they can remember when Daddy was playing football.
That's exactly
for the rest of their life.
So these are fun times.
So yeah, I mean, you play a few more years, then the 4-year-old could be 10 also. Just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm. That's listen. Anything's possible.
It's a goal. It's a goal. Certainly, if you got BioFreeze on your side, right?
That's right.
What is this?
Right.
What is BioFreeze?
Number one topical pain reliever.
Okay.
Great for sore muscles. Great for me pre-practice, pre-game, just to get myself, warmed up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Just a great way to offset that.
And would that be helpful for me running my 40?
Absolutely.
I'm serious,
yeah.
by the way. I need all that.
I'd probably go hamstrings, quads, calves.
Yes.
Definitely. Like
ankles?
Calves usually first thing to go.
What does that mean? That it's like my last thing to go? That means I'm using the wrong muscles. I don't know. That's no good. Okay. Because you just turned 40. Yeah. I'm about to turn 50.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm doing this tomorrow. I'm rehearsing.
This should be part of your daily routine.
Well, I might need some right now because I'm running against Usain Bolt tomorrow.
Are you really?
Yes.
What's the distance?
It's a 40 at the NFL Experience.
Okay.
And we've been talking throughout the show today. What yard line will I be at
Right,
when
right.
he hits the 40?
Yeah, it's oh, okay.
Can I get to the 20?
See, I thought
the time-
we were handicapping this a little bit and maybe putting you at the 10, the 12, the 15, the 18,
I think we've been saying the over-under on the
20?
show is like 17 and a half.
Okay.
So would you take the over or the under on where I could reach by the time you saying hits the 40?
Well, oh, okay. See, I was saying you get a head start and then let's hit the finish line at the
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. See, I like that better. So now it's really the over-under of.
He's 40 against
See, I
my
think
23.
17 is good. See, I think you start at the 17 and
Yeah.
you start him at the starting line. So it's basically a 23-yard dash for you.
Okay, so his 40 against my 23.
manageable. That's manageable.
I think that's a good. Why are you shaking your head? You think that's?
He is going to destroy him.
I know. He's trying to save me here. He's trying to save me. Great to see you, Drew. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
here, man.
you too.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming
Rich.
here. Really, really, really appreciate it. Go check out biofreeze.com and check out what makes Drew Brees so good in part.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.